All right, on this episode of the LPDS, we get into some Yankees current events and updates on baseball and sports. We talk about some other current events going on in the world. And when I say world, I mean New Jersey. And we do a nice little recap of, I say nice, I don't even know. I didn't even do it yet. We do a recap of the Alumni golf outing that I went to last week. And of course, we have a pretty solid Cage fact, in my opinion, of course. But yeah, all that's coming up right now. All right, Jabronis, we're back. Welcome back to Libretti Podcast Diary Show. I'm your host, Libretti, the show that talks about nothing but finds the lessons and everything, and we try to have a good time doing it. Hope everybody had a good week. Mine was okay. I want to hear about yours. I'd prefer to hear about yours, so if you had any cool things going on the past couple weeks and you want to talk about it, hit that hotline, 202-670-1114. We actually have a hotline call I'll get to at the end of the Junction that I didn't get a notification of. So I got told, somebody told me that they called in, and so I actually looked into it and I found it. So I got to fix my notifications to get that figured out. But got a hotline call. Would like to get more. Love the hotline calls from people. And send the number to random people. If you go out with somebody and you realize you don't like them, give them the hotline number. Have them call in. I would love to hear that voicemail of somebody getting rejected in that way. That would be do that. Send the hotline number to people you don't like and you want to hide it a little bit. Give them that phone number. Tell them, hey, call me anytime. Leave a voicemail, though, because I don't always answer my phone. So just call or leave a voicemail, and we'll play those voicemails on the hotline, 202-670-1114. Do that. That'd be great, actually. But regardless of that, anyway, excuse me. My week was okay. I got a lot of irons in the fire. I'm prepping for my drive to New Jersey, which is... I'm not looking forward to that. I love road trips, but as you know, and I'll say this time and time again, this one is more of business. This is more of transportation because I got the dog and I'm staying up in New Jersey for a little bit. So I want to have my car. I want to bring a bunch of stuff with me, and flying is not feasible in that regard. So I got to make the 2-day trek. So it's going to be miserable. With that, though, real quick, by the way. I'll post this on socials and the internet, so I'll try to remind people. I'll obviously be doing a recording on the road if I can, if I remember. So send me your questions, send me topics or ideas of things you might want to hear me talk about while on those road trips, and we'll have a good time doing it. It won't be the next episode, but it'll be a couple episodes from then because obviously I record this and post it, it's always a week late. I post it and I record it a couple days prior, so it's always going to be late. So when I record the road trip episodes, just as a reminder for people in case you didn't figure that out on your own, which I'm sure you all have, send me your questions. I'll record those episodes. Maybe I'll do 2 per road trip because I'll have 2 road trips. I'll have going up to the motherland and then coming back down in several weeks' time after that. So load up with questions and topics, and if I can, I'll do several recordings, and I'll be able to post those throughout. And if it's questions and topics and stuff that aren't current events, we could post those whenever, because it's not going to be tied to a current event topic that needs to be discussed at that timeline. So It should be fun. That's why I enjoy doing those, because it passes the time and I get to answer your questions and get involved with you guys, and that's what's fun for me. And I get to think on my feet, really think on my feet. I don't have any notes at all. I'm driving, so I'm not looking at notes. That's unsafe. And we try to have a good time doing that, as we always do. So I'll remind people on the social medias and the internets to send questions and topics and ideas and whatever you want. Um, won't be any hotline calls during those recordings, though, obviously. So anyway, moving on. My week, yeah, it's been okay. I've been doing a lot of that catch up, prep work and working all these different opportunities I'm exploring right now. I have another one in the hopper that came about from the insurance work I'm doing. So that could be, really great and lucrative as far as what it brings to me, not just financially, but the opportunity itself to help people and work with people on the consulting and mentorship side of things. So I'm excited about seeing how that goes, and I'll talk more about it when it's official and you know the what is the saying? Cross the T's, dot the I's. When that's all official, I'll announce that, of course, and we'll go from there. But it's been busy, and we had the alumni weekend golf outing, so I'll talk about that in the Junction. But that travel and that ops tempo that we had there, plus me continuously just going, and not taking the LPDS step back and taking a break, I kind of ran myself to the ground this week. I am feeling a little bit run down still. I don't know if you can tell or not. I'm not good at telling how I sound, being able to pick up the difference of how I sound, but I feel a little bit nasally. My lymph nodes were swelling up earlier in the week, and that's problematic. You don't want that to happen. When you get that with the nodes, when your nodes are big and swelling up and you can feel it, it's usually an indicator that you're getting sick, getting a cold or something. I had a little bit of a sore throat, and then I was just physically run down and weak. And I really noticed it after I was working out. I'd be working out, and in the middle, my heart rate would be higher. I'm like, why am I more tired working out than I normally am? Especially since I do it so consistently, I should be progressing and not going backwards. And that was like the first indicator. And then at the end of a workout, that's when I started feeling really like a bag of ass, really, to put it bluntly. And then the nodes started kicking in, and you don't the nodes are a good indicator. And that's when I was like, okay, I got to take the LPDS step back before it gets worse, because I got to take this trip. And there's nothing I hate more than traveling when feeling under the weather. It's miserable, absolutely miserable, and I'm not doing that. So I got to be a peak physical condition. So I finally took the LPDS step back, taking a bit of a break. I didn't want to. I wanted to go and work out and exercise fully the way I normally do, but I had to adjust to just getting some steps in and doing some light body work exercises and stuff like that, because in my head, I want to keep working out. I want it to be like it in my head. I'm like, no, when you don't work out, you don't get bigger, stronger, faster, better. You get no gains. And you don't want to be a beta bitch boy and not get gains. But I also know in the different part of my head, the archives, that every time I work out when I'm sick or even feeling under the weather, I make it worse. Because I accelerate putting my body in recovery mode even more so than it has to be. Because when you're sick, your body is already doing stuff to help you recover and fight whatever's going on in there. And that's why I'm feeling a little bit run down, because my body's working a little bit overtime in that regard. And then when I add physical exertion, and I don't dog my workouts. I'm not a big guy, and I'm not the most physically fit out there in the world today, but I get after it in the gym as much as I can. I'm getting my steps in. I'm getting my weights lifted. I'm doing work for me because I need that to get better. I need to be in those uncomfortable positions and stress myself out physically to get growth and progress. That's what I enjoy doing. So when I do that on top of my body already working a little extra, it compounds and I always end up being worse. And I'm trying to get better because I have this damn trip coming up. So I had to take the LPDS step back. It was very tough for me mentally and for my ego because, like I said, I think like, oh, you're not working out, you're getting, you're getting worse. You're going backwards. But I understand that in the long run, you have to take these breaks sometimes. You have to do that. I still was active. I still got steps in and did stuff, but not nearly at the caliber that I normally do it. And it's proving to be beneficial because I don't feel like a bag of asses anymore. I'm feeling better quickly. Obviously, I take my vitamins still on a regular basis. I still eat right. I'm not, so we're doing okay. But when that happens to me too, I get a little bit of the brain fog because everything is now working overtime. And when you get the brain fog, you start lacking in your proficiency in the other aspects of your life too. So stuff I wanted to progress for Spearhead and other opportunities I'm working and this and that also had to sort of be put on the back burner. I just had to do those like little light progressions as opposed to what I normally do. And this is a lesson for everyone. This is not me bragging to everybody how I was able to adjust and adapt and overcome. No, this is just a lesson to everybody that, and taking it from me, because I've learned the hard way hundreds of times in the past of just go, go, go. And then even when you're feeling under the weather or you're sick or you should take a break, you just keep going, 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 and it ends up never working out. I'm here to tell you that if you actually take the breaks and you are mindful of when your body and mind and soul need those breaks, things get better for you, okay? You identify the need for those respites, if you will, and you take advantage of them. And even in the short term, you might feel like shit. Your pride might take the hit like, oh, I should be going full throttle all the time. All the best and the best go full throttle all the time. And that's why they're the best. And if I want to be the best, I got to do full throttle all the time. You don't have to go Charlie's Angels 2 100% of the time. In fact, if you really look into it, the best of the best of the best, sir, with honor, sir, take those breaks when needed. That's why they're the best of the best. And it looks like they're always full throttle 100% of the time, but they're not. They're full throttle, and then when they need to hit the reset, they hit the reset. And that's one of the biggest advantages that you can have in life is acknowledging when you need to take those resets, taking them, and then you're back after it, better than ever. And I sort of think of it like a chart almost, like a progression chart. If you're going full throttle all the time, you're up here and then you start, then you need a reset, but instead of resetting, you just go like this. You just start to slowly smooth out and your progress is very minimal compared to what it was, and it never really gets going again. You're just constantly playing catch up to your former self. If you take those resets, now you're going almost straight up. You have a reset, which is a flat line for a day or whatever you need, and then you're back up to aggressive progress again. And then you need a reset, and you understand that. So you're creating these floors of progress, and then when you hit those reset buttons, you take those LPDS steps back, and you're back at it, and your progress in the long run is going to be much better and much further than if you just go full throttle 100% of the time and wear yourself out and you don't even realize. Now you end up being a shell of yourself and you don't even and you're still going full throttle, but your full throttle now is a lot less than your full throttle in the beginning. And that's a tough lesson I continue to have to learn on a regular basis because my brain does not want me to take those breaks in life. And I imagine some of you are like that as well. I know a lot of my friends in the military are like that. We've sort of been indoctrinated to do that all the time, especially if you're good at your job in the military. They dump more responsibility on you, and everything seems to be a life or death emergency situation. Every mission, every situation is always like that. And a lot of them are. A lot of them are not, but a lot of them are. So you're constantly in that mindset. So it's been tough for me to kind of get out of that mindset, but I'm here to tell you that it's not only possible to do so, it's absolutely paramount to true long-term success and health and wellness for you guys. And that's all I'll say about that. Moving on. I'm fine, by the way. Like, I'm good to go now. I might not sound it, but we're back. We're back in action. Now, speaking of action, the Yankees had a lot of action going on the past week, if you hadn't noticed. First things first, I want to get this out of the way very quickly, the Juan Soto situation. Now, for all those of you not tracking, Juan Soto, quote-unquote generational talent, signs with the Mets for 15 years and $765 million. Now, everybody's talking about a couple things. One, they keep talking about the $765 million, which is an egregious amount of money. And we've been saying that since the beginning. I liked Juan Soto. I loved his competitive at-bats. Every single at-bat, he was competing up there, and I thought that's exactly what the Yankees needed, but not for $765 million. That was way too much for that guy. The return on investment is never going to be there. And here's why, real quick. Here's why. He had the best year of his career last year in 2024, this past season, 2024. The best year of his career, which is exactly what you want to do in a contract year, is have your best year, because then you get the contracts exactly like the one he just got. So, again, I fault Juan Soto 0% for this. He did exactly what I would have done in this entire situation. Balled out for this year and then signed for the biggest deal possible. Don't fault him for that. But his best year of his career wasn't even the top 4 or 5 best players in the league last year. If you look at the numbies and the output, he wasn't even the best on his team last year in the regular season. Aaron Judge was, by a long shot. And then you have Shohei, Bobby Witt Jr., there's a couple other guys out there that you can argue had a better season than Juan Soto, and that was the best of his career. Now, he's young. He's 26 years old, according to, him. I don't know if that's real. He could be pulling an Albert Pujols and actually be 45 years old. We don't know. But he does have upside in that regard, that he hasn't hit his peak yet, maybe. But he does not bring in the viewership numbies, the merch sale numbies, or the international fame that a guy like Shohei does. Shohei Ohtani got $700 million contract because the Dodgers are going to make that back in like 6 years. Last year alone, the Dodgers' revenue increased by $120 million just because of Shohei Ohtani and the Japanese fanhood that they basically bought with him and Yamamoto. So 6 years, he's paying that back. The Dodgers get that money back before they even had to spend it because they deferred a lot. Not only did the Mets not defer the money, but they're not going to get that back. Juan Soto doesn't have an entire country like Japan to bring with him, or the international fame that he does. Even Aaron Judge has international and worldwide appeal, not as much as Ohtani, but more than Soto does, because he's a freak of nature. He's 7'5", has no business being an athlete. He's too big and clunky looking, and he's a premier baseball player. So even he brings more to the table. And the way the Yankees fandom is and the merch that they sell worldwide, they're going to make their money back with Judge. Nobody's going to make their money back with Soto, especially $765 million like that. But for a guy like Steve Cohen on the Mets, it's dropping the bucket for him. Doesn't matter. He wanted to drop the big FU to the Yankees to show that we're not just the Mets. We can outspend you. And whatever. They got him. Fine. My issue with the whole thing is I did like Soto. I liked his offense for sure on the team and his presence, in the clubhouse. His outfield work stinks. We already knew that. We talked about that in the past. My issue with the whole thing is that the Yankees offered him $760 million for 16 years. Now, I'm not mad at Soto for going with $5 million more and the free suite for his family and that crap. I'm mad at the Yankees for justifying that egregious amount of money for a guy who won't even be the best player on your team. You have Aaron Judge is the best player on your team. Regular season Aaron Judge, best player on your team by far. Arguably the best in the league by far, especially last year's numbies he had. So why would you even entertain that level of ridiculousness with the contract? All the Yankees did, in my mind, was show the rest of the league and the players out there, the available players out there, that we have at least $760 million to give to you guys. So now all they're going to do, if I was one of the players that the Yankees are interested in, I would have my agent negotiate for more money, as much as I can. And it seems like they did that already with this Max Fried pitcher that they just signed, the Yankees, from Atlanta. They gave him $218 million for like 8 years. Now, he's a pretty good pitcher. He's had a couple injuries. He was injured last year, so he's had a couple of non-full seasons, but he's a pretty decent pitcher, decent numbies. You could argue whether, how good he's going to be. We don't know. He's been injured enough to throw that question mark up into the atmosphere of like, is he going to be like a Mike Trout or a Giancarlo Stanton where he's going to get injured every other season and we're never going to get full Max Fried? It's not crazy to have that concern with this guy. And for $218 million, that's a big a big paycheck for a big question mark, in my opinion. But a week prior, the Yankees let everybody know we were willing to pay $760 million for one guy. So we have money to throw around. So they can't pull back and say, like, no, we're not willing to pay you money, because everybody knows now these guys are willing to pay way over sticker price for certain players. And it's been a problem I've had with the Yankees and Cashman for several years now, where they overpay underperformers. And the fact that they were willing to do that for Soto, I know he's not necessarily an underperformer per se, but the amount of money they were offering him was so egregious, it was absolutely not worth it. They were not going to get their money's worth out of him. And they would have closed off their ability to get anybody else to close the glaring gaps, glaring holes, not blaring dope, the glaring holes that they still have in their lineup and in their field. They still need a third baseman. They still need a second baseman if it's not going to be, what's his name? Willie Mays Hayes. Jazz Chisholm. They still need a first baseman. They need another outfielder because Soto's gone. So you would think, Judge will move to right field. Are they going to put Dominguez in center field? Did they keep Verdugo? What are they going to do? They need outfielders. They need more than one pitcher. So they have a lot of holes. So I'm almost happy they didn't sign Soto, certainly for that amount of money. If it was for 500, okay. God, that's fine. But 760 would have been an absolute travesty if the Yankees did that. Would have been an absolute bonehead move on their part. So I'm happy in that regard. I did like Soto, but not that much. But now the word is out. The Yankees have the money to spend. So now they have to actually spend the money on the right talent. They got this Mac Fried guy. Don't know if it's worth the money. That's a lot of money for a big question mark. And they just got a closer, Devin Williams from the Brewers, and what I would consider to be the saddest move the Yankees have made in quite some time is they traded Nestor Cortes for him. Now, objectively speaking, Nestor Cortes was absolutely should have been on the trade block. He's got value. He's got value. He's not necessarily on the upswing anymore. He's probably on the downswing of his career. So he's got, trade him while you can get value out of him. And that's what they did. But as a Nestor fan, it's heartbreaking to see him go. I love Nestor Cortes. I loved Nesty out there on the mound doing his thing. I thought he was not only a good enough pitcher, I thought he was an actual pitcher because he didn't overpower anybody. He just had to outpitch people. And he was a good clubhouse guy. He was just a good Yankee. And I'm going to miss him. But that was objectively speaking, that was a move I'm not too mad about in that regard because it was better for the team in the long run as opposed to what they did with Glaber and waited until he had zero value, and then he became a free agent. So now he's gone, thankfully, but they got nothing for him. They also did the same thing with Clay Holmes last week when Clay Holmes signed with the Mets for $38 million for 3 years, also an overpayment by the Mets because they want to make him a starter. Good luck with that. But the Yankees had the opportunity to trade him at the trade deadline last year and in the offseason last year as well, when he had even a remote, a little shred of value, and they blew that. They waited for him to be the biggest choke artist in the league, and then he's gone. He went to the free agency, and they got nothing for him. So I'm at least a little happy that they still saw value in Nestor to get something for him. And Devin Williams apparently is a good closer. I think he's the guy who gave up that go-ahead crushing home run in the playoffs to Fat Pete Alonso when the Brewers played the Mets. I think that's the same guy. But throughout the year, he was pretty lights out otherwise. So hopefully he's a pretty decent closer. And then they can use Luke Weaver in different spots and expand out that way. But they still need more pitching, more consistent pitching in the bullpen and in the starters. And they have all these other holes in the field that they have to worry about. And not a lot of talent out there to fill those gaps. So they better put their money where all that Soto money that they saved, they better put that money where their mouth is and start closing gaps soon, or they're going to be the same damn Yankees they've been for the past decade plus, crawling into the playoffs or relying on the rest of the league to stink, and then when the game's on the line, their fundamentals go to shit because they're not good. So that's the Yankees update that I got for you this week. They're not even playing, and they're getting me angry. And the Giants just stink, by the way. If we're talking sports, the New York Football Giants, they had a practice. I just read this. They had a practice where part of their practice was they practiced their red zone offense, which is like scoring, inside the 20-yard line to score touchdowns. And of their 30 practice runs, I think they said they were 0 for 30 or 0 for 20, however many they did. They were 0 for 0 completions, 0 touchdowns, 0 points. And several of those plays that they ran were plays with no defense, no defenders on their offense during practice. It was just an offensive run through, and they had 4 or 5 incompletions and a couple of catches out of bounds for no points. In practice, they couldn't even score against no defense in practice. That's the New York Football Giants right now. So, and that's all I have to say about that, by the way, too, because they stink. Anyway, moving on. The last current event I want to talk about real quick, the drone situation in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, thing that's been going on the past several weeks, over a month now. If you're not tracking, the quick rundown of this situation is there have been drones flying around in precarious spots around New Jersey. Some have been seen in New York now, and some around Pennsylvania as well. I think they identified a couple of military bases that they were flying over as well in those areas. This has been happening now for over a month. It only became a news story in the past couple weeks, but it's been reported on by witnesses for over a month now. And the latest on it from the New Jersey governor and the New Jersey government, along with the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and the CIA, and the Pentagon, is that they don't know where these drones are coming from, who owns them, and they do not have a plan to stop them, to get rid of them, to identify where they're coming from, who they belong to. Nothing. They basically just said, we don't know what they are, and we don't know what we're going to do about it. But they seem safe. They don't seem like a threat, so don't worry about it, folks. Now, I have been, for a long time now talking about how inept and clueless I think our government is. You all know that. But I also know from my time working for the government, directly supporting these organizations that I mentioned in the past, that when they're all on the same sheet of music with the I don't know and I don't know what we're going to do speeches and responses to stuff, 100% of the time, historically, this is not a guess. I'm going based off of what has happened in the past. 100% of the time, when everybody in the government, every government agency, every political leadership element, when they're all on the same sheet of music saying, we don't know and we don't know what we're going to do about it, but don't worry, 100% of the time, they know what's going on. They know what. So in this instance, I wholeheartedly believe that they know what these drones are doing, who's running them, who's running the show, how long they're going to be there, and who stands to benefit from it. And again, historically, when they push out this level of scripted, I don't know speeches and terminology, the government stands to benefit in some way, shape, or form. What I think is going on now, I'm just, this is my opinion. This is not true or factual yet. This is my opinion based on the current facts and the historical facts of when stuff like this has happened in the past. I believe that this is something our government, our military is doing. Maybe they're testing out some new drone technology, some tactics, and it's compartmentalized information, classified information, so they have to keep like the New Jersey leadership in the dark about it, and everybody has to play dumb to it. So they're not revealing any national security information. I think that could be a possibility. The more tinfoil hat theory that I've heard around is that they're testing some operation to keep, maintain control over the populace and to keep us, controlled and keep us as sheep and keep us fat, dumb, and stupid and happy. I don't necessarily know if I believe that just yet. There's really not a lot of evidence to suggest that right now, but I wouldn't put it past them. And then there's a chance it's from a different country. I've heard rumors of Iran being at the helm of this. I don't necessarily think it's Iran or Iran, however you pronounce it, mainly because it's a lot of drones. I don't know why my video keeps crapping out. If you're watching on YouTube land, I apologize. But I don't think Iran has the finances to buy this level of technologically savvy drones and to operate them this successfully without being outed very easily and very publicly and without it being stopped immediately. I also would find it hard to believe that, not hard to believe, but I don't think that our federal government is just allowing like enemy drones to willy-nilly fly around. Although they did do that with China with the balloon shit that happened last year or 2 years, whenever that happened. They literally knew about these Chinese balloons and let that happen, even though they, it's just weather balloons, it's fine. And we found out that they were intelligence gathering balloons. So yeah, they could let I don't think that's the case, only because I don't think a country like Iran has this technological capability. I don't know. We gave an awful lot of money to Iran in August of last year or whenever it was. So maybe they were able to fund the acquisition of these drones. I don't know for sure. But I think it's homegrown, if you will. I think it's our government is pulling the strings and they're running the show on this, or our military is, and they're just trying to keep people in the dark about it because they're testing some stuff out and they don't want our enemies to know about it. I think it's more along the lines of that. Regardless, it's pretty easy to be transparent about something like that without giving away the farm. And it'll shut people up. Yeah. We're like, these are ours. Don't worry, folks. These are ours. We're running some tests on new capabilities. Thank you and good night. Don't worry about it, folks. Thank you. And that's it. People will shut up about it for the most part. You'll still get the tinfoil hat folks out there that'll be like, oh, they're running, secret operations against its own people, and we have to fight back and this and that. But and I don't, you can let them talk. They've been doing that for years. Every time you see a military aircraft in a strange area, you have the tinfoil hatters out there that are going to say stuff like that. But we do, from a military standpoint, we do have to test our shit. Our new stuff, we have to test out not just the functionality of new technology and new aircraft and new weapons and stuff. We have to test out the operational tactics and how we're going to use them, so that we can be actually combat ready to use them effectively should we need to. So we had to test that out. It's not just about turning on a drone and seeing if it flies in the air and comes back. We create tactics for all of our military vehicles like that. Maybe they're surveillance drones. Maybe they're weaponized. We don't know. And they had to test out operationally their ability to conduct what we want them to conduct. So I'm not against practicing and testing and ops testing shit like that. I'm for that. We need to do that. But just be transparent about it. Well, I don't know why you wouldn't. Hey, we're testing some stuff. And if it's that secretive, go put it out in the new, the Area 51 areas. All the secret bases that we have around the country that nobody knows about, where you've been testing stuff for decades. and creates little to no issues when you test that stuff. Go out there and do it. So it does make me question still what's going on, but I do think it's our own government running the show on this. So, but I could be 100% wrong. Who knows? Regardless, there's nothing worse than every single agency who's supposed to be the premier government agency in the world for each of these things. The FBI is the best. The CIA is the best. The DHS is the best. The military is the best. And all these buffoons are saying, we don't know what's going on, and we have no plan to find out what's going on. Unless you're just trying to trick our enemies into thinking we're inept, that could be the case. I don't think so. That's a terrible strategy, though. That's what I'm getting at. Come up with something better. This is where the buffoonery actually comes to play. Where they might be doing some secret classified testing of these military assets that we have, but their stupidity comes into play when they can't come up with an effective explanation for it all to keep people quelled, if you will. To let people know we are in control of the situation. You guys have nothing to worry about. Everybody is safe and secure. We got this. Don't worry. Bring some confidence back to our government. It has been lost for a long time now, with the exception of a couple of extreme, but more buffoons out there in this country that trust the government implicitly and think we should give more control and power to the government. I feel bad for those people. But everybody else, you would actually calm their nerves and provide some confidence in your abilities to do anything. Don't worry, guys. We know what's going on. We're not at liberty to discuss right now for national security reasons. It is in-house. We're taking, it's our thing. We're in control. Nobody's in danger. You have nothing to worry about. Thank you and good night. That's it. They couldn't even figure that out. That's where the cluelessness comes into play, and that's what gets me angry. It took a jabroni sitting behind a 100-year-old desk with a backwards hat 30 seconds to come up with that explanation that would have shut the entire world up about it. No more news story. Now, unless you want to go back with a tinfoil hat, let's put the tinfoil hats back on. Unless they did it on purpose to keep the story in the news, to cover up something else going on. That's a possibility. Joey B and the gang and his administration just pardoned another ton of people, to include a lot of child sex predators that he just pardoned and let free. Maybe that's what they're covering up. Let's get the drone story to be the big news, and we'll pretend to be stupid there, because guess what they're not going to be talking about? They're not going to be talking about the child sex criminals that Joey B and the gang just pardoned and let free on the loose, scot-free, full pardons. They're not on Megan's Law. They're not on convicted felon list. Nothing. There's child sex criminals that are now free to go live in society. They don't even have to tell you that they were child sex criminals. Scot-free. Clean slate. And still sex criminals. But we don't know about that anymore. Maybe that's what's going on. I don't know. But I will say this. The whole situation is fishy to me. And anybody who is just sitting back and thinking everything is fine, don't worry about it, I trust our government, I highly recommend you stop trusting our government. I highly recommend you start asking some questions. Take a page of the LPDS handbook and start critically analyzing situations and gathering all information possible, and not just what you're passively taking in from the media, what they're telling us. Actively go out there and critically analyze situations in general, not just in this regard, but in life. And you'll be better off for it. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. Now, we could get into the good stuff finally. So let's do that, and we'll step into the cage.
Okay, let's run.
All right. Today's Into the Cage segment is proudly sponsored by Hank's Hickey Hider. Fellas, have you been doing a little scandalous late night smooching with your secret boy toy and keep having to steal your wife's concealer cream to hide the hickeys from her? Well, now you don't have to with Hank's Hickey Hider balm for men who like smooches but don't like showing them off. Hank's Hickey Hider is an all-new, unpatented balm that not only hides hickeys instantly upon application, but also comes in a custom container of your choosing, so when your wife sees it on your nightstand, she'll think it's just your deodorant, but we both know that it's your Hickey Hider that you're using after a frisky night out with the boys. But don't worry, it'll be our little secret. So to get your Hickey Hider from Hank's today, visit www.website for deodorant and notformensconcealer.com. And if you use the promo code Studley Smooches, you'll get 29% off your first container. Too many adults these days, full-on adults, not high schoolers or college kids, too many adults are showing up in life with hickeys, and I don't know if they don't know about them or they think they're cool still, but they're not cool. Okay? I'm not saying, you need to use makeup to conceal them, but hickeys are not cool. And let's be honest here, folks. The majority of the people doing hickey stuff, getting hickeys or giving hickeys, are more often than not your spouse or significant other. I hate to say it. But the majority of people in serious relationships, whether it be a marriage or just a regular non-marriage relationship, the hickey phase, the fun, scandalous hickey stuff phase is gone. Your wife of 25 years or your husband of 25 years is not doing hickey stuff anymore. You're over that. So the majority of people still getting hickeys are either young, stupid kids who are out there, out and about doing stuff, and it's like sort of like a stamp of honor, badge of honor. Like, look what I got. I got with this dude last night, or I got with this chick last night. Or it's scandalous, illicit affairs that are happening, and it's the excitement you're not getting in your relationship, so you go be an adulterer, and then you get hickey stuff on you. So, here at the LPDS official statement on hickeys is, don't get them, and if you do get them, get Hank's Hickey Hider because they're not a good look. It's not a brag. And when people see that, they're going to associate you with being immature or an adulterer. So, get the Hickey Hider. Anyway, the cage fact. The most recent as of 24 hours ago. Now, I am recording this on Friday the 13th of December. And as of 24 hours ago, the latest update, and I quote, from both Nic Cage and Travolta, we are ready to return for Face Off 2. Now, LPDS caveat. This is not an official statement by anybody that they are back in business, that they are filming Face Off 2 as we speak. That is not the case. But they were approached by the director who said, and if you remember from like 1 or 2 years ago when we talked about the idea that they were writing a script for Face Off the sequel, the director and producer and whoever, the guy running the show on it, said, I will not make this movie without Travolta and Cage. Excuse me. So, this update suggests that they are close to actually getting Cage and Travolta back on the set. They're writing the script. They're planning production and filming and all that stuff. So I am hopeful that Nic Cage reprises his role as not only Castor Troy, but as Sean Archer as well. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, there is an episode of the LPDS that is dedicated. The episode itself is almost as long as the movie was, but it is dedicated to a review of the movie Face Off. If you want to know about Face Off, watch that review. And then watch the movie. I want you to watch the movie. I want you to watch all Nic Cage movies. But first, I want you to watch the LPDS Nic Cage or Face Off review. And then watch the movie, and I promise you, you'll have a better experience watching the movie. But that's the Cage fact. They are ready to return for Face Off 2, and I won't believe it until I see it, but I'm hopeful and I'm excited about the prospect of that. And I don't usually like sequels. You know how I feel about sequels or remakes or all that malarkey? But it's Nic Cage. He's coming back. I don't care if the movie sucks. I'm going to see it, and you know he's going to be tremendous in it. I don't care if the storyline stinks. If it's going to be a bunch of face waterfalls on weird kids and adults and stuff. Don't care. If Cage is in it, there are going to be incredible scenes in there. And that's worth the wait and worth the watch, in my opinion. So that's the Cage fact. All right, moving on over to the Junction. We'll spin the logo up. Last week, as mentioned prior, we had our college baseball alumni golf event. Now, I don't remember if I mentioned this previously. I think I did when I was explaining it, but the alumni golf event started out as a pitchers and catchers alumni event only. Every 2 years we had the college baseball alumni game, and then in between those years, every other year, they started the golf event for pitchers and catchers. I believe I did talk about this last week, that the Wet Cat took it over, and it has since expanded to everybody involved in the baseball program. Even like if you have spouses or kids, fans of the program, you can join in too for this year. So it was a fun time. It was a golf outing. So we had a golf like tournament. I don't know. I'm not a golf connoisseur. I play it. I stink at it. I don't go golfing in my spare time. I'll go if I have friends in town or if I'm home and somebody wants to go golf. I'll golf with them because I enjoy being out there with friends and family and having a good time. But I'm not practicing golf. I'm not trying to get better. I'm just trying to enjoy myself when I'm out there. But I stink at it. So I don't know the lingo and what the technical terminology is, but it was however many teams. There was 44 of us, something like that. So we had 11 teams of 11 foursomes, and there's teams are of 4 in the golf community. And it was is it called a scramble? Best ball situation? Again, I'm terrible with the terminology. Best ball situation. So what we did was the 4 of us on each team would tee off from our hole, and whoever had the best drive, you would play. The 4 of us would go to that ball and play off of that ball. So then 4 of us would hit from that area, and whoever had the best second hit, you play the best ball of that, and so on and so forth. And then you add up the score from the best ball. So the theory behind it for the non-golfers out there, and for the golfers out there, and I'm butchering this, like, I don't not care. I'm not trying to disrespect the game or your enthusiasm and dedication to the game, but I just don't know the lingo, and so I'm explaining it as best I can, but I also, like, if you want to correct me, cool, correct me, but I don't care that much. Like, I'm not going to go and be like, oh, I'll take a note of that and I'll be better next time about explaining golf so that people can understand. I don't care that much. There are a billion golf shows and videos out there and podcasts and golf experts out there. If you want to learn about golf and the ins and outs of golf and getting better and how to enjoy it, how to get your score better and know the terminology, go over there and learn about it. You're not going to get it from me. I'm going to explain it in LPDS terminology, and I'm not going to change in that regard simply because I just don't care about it as much. Not because I hate it or hate you or anything, but I only have so much space in this brain of mine, and it's dedicated to other things. So, anyway, the idea was of Scramble Best Ball. I don't even know if Scramble. I'm going to get butchered by the golf community for that. The idea of Best Ball is if you stink at golf, but you get one good shot off, now you can get some credit so you actually contribute to the success of the team. And you also don't have to rely on one guy only to have a great round, to have a competitive score for our little tournament that we had. And at the end of the 18 holes, all the teams came together, and you found out, the top 3 teams, the worst team, this and that, and there was prizes and raffle, and the Wet Cat really did a tremendous job setting the whole thing up and providing a good experience for everybody. We got food after. The food stunk, but it wasn't his fault. The golf course just doesn't know how to make a chicken parm. But we were starving, so it didn't matter what was in it. We were just eating it. It was basically ketchup and McNuggets, but we still housed it and had a good time doing it. So thanks to the Wet Cat for doing that. He did an awesome job. The night before, we were at a bar, and he set up a whole Embry-Riddle baseball trivia game for us, and he talked to other people in the athletic department to get trivia questions, and he really did. He went above and beyond. He went above and beyond for sure. And considering my only gripe with this whole thing is alumni events are supposed to be for the alumni and not by the alumni. So considering that Phil is an alumnus of the team, he shouldn't have had to do anything. It should have been the team setting this shit up for the alumni so we could come back, mingle with the players, have a good time, and then they put that effort in for us, and we continue our support to them. That's my personal opinion on how that shit should work. So I feel bad that the Wet Cat had to do all of this, but he put on a tremendous event. Credit to him. The money raised should go to him, in my opinion. But hopefully in the future, the team and the department recognize his efforts and start giving him a little bit of a breather for the future events, so that he can further enjoy himself and being back with the alumni and hanging with the team and doing it how again, in my opinion, it's supposed to be when it comes to alumni events. This event was tremendous. I didn't see one active player. I saw the head coach. He came out, he golfed. I saw the associate head coach. He came out the night before. He couldn't go golfing. He had to go to a family thing on Saturday, so he couldn't golf, but he came out to the bar for trivia. And that was it. I didn't see one active player. It was just alumni. So in my personal opinion, this is my only bitch and gripe about this whole thing, is what's the point of an alumni event? That was just a chance for us to hang out and reminisce and have a good time, which was awesome for me. But we're raising money for the program. A program that if you didn't know any better, if you were an outsider looking in, you would think this program doesn't give a shit about its alumni. Because they didn't show up for anything. I don't even know if some of them knew that we were having an alumni event. So I would love to see the program itself come together and give the Wet Cat a little respite and a little credit for all his hard work over the years, putting this amazing event together. and showing a little gratitude to him of like, hey, thank you for doing all this all the time for us every year. We appreciate your efforts and we're actually going to see the alumni. Like, we didn't see anybody on the team. And that's one of my favorite parts about alumni events for baseball is we get to go mingle with not just our old pals, but the current team and talk about the good old days and how it's different now and what the cool stories that they have and what their goals are for their team this year and this and that. We get to meet them and intermingle. And now we know like there's a personal connection to who we're supporting and they could see like how close the alumni are and it's just a great relationship builder altogether. I love that shit. We did at the alumni game, the baseball game back in January, and we had a great time. I got to speak to the whole team basically and learn about them. And then and we were more invested, or at least I was personally more invested in their season and seeing how well they did that season. So if we could do that in the future, that would be tremendous. That's my only gripe about it. The Wet Cat put on a tremendous event. The head coach showed his support by showing up and helping out. He also helped with logistics and setting up some of the stuff like the bar events and stuff like that. It was a great weekend, but it was a jam-packed, short weekend and an early riser weekend for us. And as you know, I am not a good early riser. I'm not a morning person. So I had to get up early Friday to get ready for our flight in the morning to get down to Florida. And then Saturday morning, we got up super early. The tournament started officially at 8. First tee off was at 8 o'clock in the morning. 7 o'clock, we started. You could hit the driving range. But we got up early. A Creature and I got up earlier with the Wet Cat as a couple other alumni to help a little, try to help a little bit, help him set up, the stuff in the beginning, the sign-in form sheets, the merchandise that he got. Like we got some cool shirts to get things set up in the lunch area for afterwards when we did our raffle and we got to eat and mingle and stuff like that. We got up super early to go help the Wet Cat even a little bit. He still did most of the work, but hopefully he got some value out of our assistance there. But we were up at we were out the door of a hotel on a Saturday morning at like 5 in the morning. And I was already tired from the day before, waking up early and then going to bed late because we were out hanging out with each other Friday night, shooting the shit and having a good time, which is, I'm not saying I wish this changed because I didn't want it to change. I wanted to be up late talking to the fellas, and I wanted to be up early to get shit ready to talk to the fellas and play golf with the fellas. So I'm not mad about it. It's just I'm not good at it. I'm not used to it. And it banged me up, and it's definitely contributed to me being run down earlier, later in the week. But we were there. We hit a McDonald's run for an Egg McMuff Daddy. And that's all we ate. 5:20 in the morning, I had a bacon, egg, and cheese McMuff Daddy, a coffee, and a hash brown. And then we played 18 holes of golf, and we didn't eat until 1 o'clock. So not only was I tired and banged up, I was starving and finished a round of golf. And I don't play golf often, so that, you're walking around, you're getting steps in, you're swinging, you're doing stuff that you're not used to doing. I was in shambles. That's why that wretched chicken parm situation wasn't so wretched for us. We housed it. In fact, we cleared those trays out in seconds. And I would have gone back for more if I could have. I was just dead to the world. Then later Saturday afternoon, after it was all said and done, got the stuff cleaned up, had a good time with raffles and shooting the shit with the gang and eating and smoking and joking. We were supposed to get a nap in. I think the Creature and I, separate beds, come on, got like a 20-minute naparooski in after we got back to the place and were able to shower and clean ourselves up. And then we were right back out to dinner because we wanted to go to this Italian joint that we used to go back in college called Luigi's, not to be confused with Luigi Mangione. It's a Luigi's Italian restaurant. They have some decent pizza, but they also have these strombolis that back in college they blew your. It was like a gourmet meal, and it was a huge. How you doing? A huge stromboli, which is basically like it's not really a calzone because a calzone's sort of like a pizza closed and like a pizza pocket. A stromboli is almost like think of it as what it looks like anyway is like a big baguette of Italian bread, and inside that is pizza like mixed in, and it's sort of open face, sort of not. And what they do is they take like pizza dough, and instead of filling it with pizza toppings and then folding it and creating a closed off pocket, they sort of weave and twist into like a giant pizza breadstick almost. That's the only way I can describe it. And it was, if you're looking at YouTube land, it was over a foot long. It was probably a 13-inch stromboli. So the creature and I got up early enough to get that for dinner because we were going to meet the gang out at this bar later in the evening to shoot the shit, smoke and joke, and catch up with guys we haven't seen in a while. So we didn't get a much nap time at all. I don't think the wet cat napped at all. He didn't get any of his cat naps in, and he was still running full throttle. God bless him. So we all went to Luigi's, had a nice stromboli. We went to get some ice cream, and then we hit the bar scene to go hang out with the gang again. And I didn't even drink. I had one drink on Friday, and I had club sodas on Saturday. And I can't imagine how bad I would have been if I drank more than that, as far as like hungover and sick and whatever. Like my body's recovery is really the most apparent thing in my older age. As I get older, I'm still in pretty decent shape. I'm active as possible. I'd like to get more active and add some more mobility to my daily exercise, which I will be doing. But it's the recovery of stuff that takes longer now. That's the most apparent. And even when I do have a drink, if it's a strong whiskey drink or something like that, I start feeling a little bit of a headache within 2 hours of finishing that drink. Like I already start getting a hangover. That's how low my tolerance and recovery is these days. So I'm happy I didn't drink because I would have been an absolute shambles. Because Sunday morning, our flight was leaving Daytona Beach at 6 a.m. So we had to get up at 4 to Uber from the hotel to the airport. And that was, again, not helpful to me. We made it work. And plenty of people do this stuff on a regular basis. I don't know how they do it. I am just not good at mornings. That's one of my weakest things is being able to get up in the morning and get after it with energy and eagerness. I just can't. I'm just not good at it. I'm so bad at it that it banged me up for the rest of the week. But 100% well worth it. Like I said again, to the wet cat, tremendous effort. He plans these out like over a year in advance. He lets people know a year in advance when the date's going to be. He sets it up with the golf course. He gets everything ready. We're going to have this many teams. He printed up rule pages for people so we know what the tournament rules were for our specific tournament out there. He got raffle prizes purchased. He got raffle tickets. He set up the rules of the road for the raffle. He set up all this shit there. He just did, and I believe Mrs. Wet Cat, the Catwoman, helped out as well behind the scenes because they're a tag team duo. Just a tremendous effort pulling that off every other year he does it, and he's very thorough. And for the casual, just alumnus that shows up to this, you show up, you got trivia Friday night, golf Saturday. You don't have to do anything. You just show up with your clubs or rent clubs if you don't have clubs, and you just golf, and everything is taken care of for. Then you go eat. Everything is all taken care of. And I know for that to happen, there is a serious level of effort and behind the scenes work that needs to be done beforehand. And that's what the Wet Cat and whoever else that he had help with did beforehand to make it a seamless, really fun event. And that's what I appreciated most about this, because it gave us the chance. Now, again, me and Creature stayed around the Wet Cat to try to help out and spend time with him as well. But it gave the chance for guys like myself who weren't running the show, just a regular old alumni, to just show up and dedicate their time to catching up with the old gang, with their old teammates, their old friends, finding out how they're doing, what their family situation is like, all that stuff. That's the mark of a tremendous event. If all you have to do is show up and have a good time, that's your own responsibility. Good, that's a good event. You don't have to worry about anything. Like, oh, there's no food here. I have to go figure out what I got to go, do to eat. Phil, we had the hotel situations pre-set up. Like, hey, we're all staying at, this is the hotel that we're going to stay at because it's in the middle of the golf course and the bars we have for trivia night and this and that. So everyone was basically staying at the same hotel. All you had to do was show up and enjoy yourself. You didn't have to think about anything else. And so I commend the Wet Cat on that. That was a tremendous effort. Fantastic event. I know that's a lot of hard work. I've set up events like that before in the past. I done it in the military. I did it in college as well. I did it for other side gigs I've had in the past. I still do it for stuff now. It is an undertaking, and it's exhausting, and it's frustrating because behind the scenes, nothing is going right. Convention halls logistically get screwed up. They get double booked, and then if you're getting catering gets screwed up, and if you're doing photography, everything is getting screwed up all the time. And then you have people, 55 people said that they were going to show up, but I only got paid by 2 people who contributed their money for the event. Now what do we do? Like, we need that. Like, everything goes wrong while you're doing this stuff, and it's all a nightmare until the event is over. And you're scrambling around, putting out the fires, and doing whatever you can to ensure that all the people that sign up for the event, all they have to do is show up and have a good time. And it's completely unnoticed by them. That's not the word I wanted to use. I just forgot the word. Not transparent. What is the word I'm thinking of? It's just they don't even know what's going on. They don't know of any of the issues or hurdles or problems that you had to deal with setting this up. So, hats off to the Wet Cat and whoever he had helping him. I don't know who. I want to give credit to others who helped. Like I said, I believe his wife, Mrs. Wet Cat, helped as well, and the head coach of the team, Coach Thurno. He helped set up a bunch of stuff too, and contributed with some good merch and apparel and stuff for the raffles. So thank you guys for that. You made an event that's could have been a nightmare. If it's just, hey, we're gonna meet up in Syracuse and hang out with no agenda, no nothing. We're just gonna meet up and then that's it. That's easy. A rendezvous of friends is easy. You just fly out there, figure everything else out on your own, and no problem. This was an event. Included golf, which the golf folks out there, everything has to be prim and proper, official, professional. This and that. It's not you're not just going to Top Golf to go dick around. This was at the LPGA Country Club. So it was the real deal, and I can't thank them enough for their efforts, and I want to give credit to all those involved to make that such a fun weekend. I don't know exactly who else contributed, but thank you. It was a real fun time, and again, as I get older or experience more life, and I continue to learn, grow, and improve in my life, in my journey, if you will. I try to appreciate stuff like this more. Whereas when I was younger, it's the same like I said with weddings and stuff like that. When I was younger, all I would have thought about was like, what a pain in the ass effort this is. You should have just canceled it and just told people to fly down this weekend, and we could go to a driving range and then dick around and be done with it, and that's it. And all I would have thought about was the negatives of it, and been like, you should have done this, you should have done that, and it would have been easier for you, and this and that. And I'm trying to appreciate just the excuse to go see good people, good friends and family and important people in your lives again. And that's what this was. This was a great opportunity. And again, there was no negatives. From the outsider looking in, I flew in, I played golf with my friends, I had dinner and shared drinks and stories with my friends, and then I flew home. So I appreciate that. And I'm trying to appreciate things like that more and more in my life, because any reason to spend time with the important people in your life that you cherish, that's a good enough reason for me to do stuff these days. I don't care if it's a wedding or a golf outing or anything. It's an excuse to hang out with the important people in your life that you cherish. So thank you for that. That's all I have to say about that. But before we get to the big three, we do have a hotline call. This is a couple weeks old because I missed it, so I apologize for that. But let's get to the hotline real quick, and then we'll be on our way. And I'll start. I won't forget to post about the how you doing. The questions for the road trip episodes that I'll be recording when I'm on the road up to New Jersey. So stay tuned for that. That's coming soon. But first, hotline.
Hey, Johnny, it's Tony Ciccone. Good morning. I kind of feel bad. You had said this week that you haven't had any hotline calls. You pushed me to make the call, okay? I'm going to be straight up with you. You pushed me to make the call. I've been busy like everybody else has been busy, but the concern that I have now is that when you spoke about Thanksgiving and going to dinner at people's houses, and whether they be family or cousins of family members, and you really don't get along with them, I could really, really appreciate that. Because that's the truth. That's the way that it is. There's some people, again, I don't know how to put it, but more as they rub you the wrong way. And I got a couple of people in my family, married into members, that rub me the wrong way. And the idea of going to an occasion or a holiday each and every year and having to see them, my stomach gets a little bit sick, So it curbs my eating habits at this point after years and years and years. But anyway, neither here nor there. I hope you enjoyed your Thanksgiving. I know you weren't at home. You were saying that you wouldn't be home for Thanksgiving. But the bottom line is you enjoyed it. You were with friends. And that's the most important thing. We don't live forever. And if we have to live our lives based upon getting sick and upset to go somewhere on a holiday, that's a terrible feeling. And I experienced that for a long time. But anyway, the show is not about me. Libretti Podcast is about you. And that's the most important thing. You must strive. You must keep plugging. You must go as far as you can go to be the best that you want, and that's about it. But don't forget, I'm looking for those peppers. I don't want it to be that a family member does anything to me as well, because we got to be brothers in arms, brothers in life, brothers all over. All right, I don't want to ramble on and on, Johnny, but you're all right. Again, I don't care what your brother says about you. You're a good man. I'm waiting on those peppers, and just do the right thing, okay? Have a great week. Take care of yourself. Regards to everyone. And again, keep plugging and stay safe. All right, cowboy? Do the best that you can. Have a great week. Thank you. Bye-bye now.
All right. Tony Saccone, relative. Everybody knows him at the LPDS as Tony Sacco. Thank you for that call. It was great. Like I said, it was a couple weeks late. That's on me, not on him. But you just reaffirmed my sentiment on the whole thing that I know is a bit of a controversial opinion to some people, and that's fine. I'm certainly not judging others on how they feel about family and other people in their lives, but my mindset has shifted over the years of I don't care if you're family or friends or through marriage or blood. If you're a toxic person and you're creating negativity and making my life worse and others around your life worse, I'm trying not to associate with those people anymore. Life is too short to fake it and pretend for the sake of others who are toxic and negative and bad people, and to associate with them just because simply because they're family or they're through marriage or whatever. I've gotten a lot. Oh, he's been your friend for a year. He was your oldest friend. Blah blah. I've heard that before from others. That the pushback they get. People change. Okay, friendships change. Family members' relationships change. It's okay to separate yourselves from negativity and toxicity. And if your friends change for the worse, luckily for me, I'm very fortunate on the family and friend side that I don't have to worry about this much anymore. All the toxic and negative people that were in my life on the family and friend side are no longer around in my life. So I'm fortunate and blessed in that regard. But I know a lot of people still don't have that luxury. And they still feel guilted or obligated to go to family events or holidays or parties or just get-togethers because it's family, you got to be nice and this and that. I don't prescribe to that anymore. It's just that's not my bag anymore. My life is too short to take up that time in those negative spaces. So I appreciate the similar sentiment, Tony. Thank you for that. The peppers might be actually coming soon, sooner than we think, which is not correct at all because it's December, and they should have happened. This should have happened months ago. But I do believe I will have another batch of peppers. I'll be able to pick off my plants before I take them down, before I drive up to Jersey. This is my final week with the plants to get some stuff out of them. I think I'm going to have enough like a couple of tomatoes that I could pull and ripen off the vine, off the plant. They've been growing enough. We'll see, but I'm pretty confident I'll have some more peppers to drive back with me. So stand by for that. We're still trying to make things work in the pepper tomato world. So thank you for the call. I appreciate it. Don't forget, everybody else, if you have hotline calls or if you have ideas or questions or anything, hit the hotline, 202-670-1114. I love the hotline calls. It's fun to listen to your perspectives and you're sharing your experiences in life or you're asking questions, and it's just a good time. It's just a good time all around. So that's all I got to say about that. With that, very quickly, the big three, and then we'll get out of here. Big three are the three pillars to staying strong and being a better, happier, kinder, less stressed, healthier, more genuine human being and spreading that positivity and goodness to all those around you and throughout the land. Number one, exercise every day. Do something every day to exercise yourself physically, mentally, or emotionally. And I say physically, mentally, or emotionally because you can't do physical activity full throttle every day and expect to get better without taking some active rest. So as long as you're doing some sort of exercise every day, physically, mentally, or emotionally, you will improve your physical, mental, and emotional fitness and health and wellness. So whether it's a full workout at the gym, or a walk after a meal, or jumping jacks and push-ups during commercial breaks of TV shows, or you're doing a crossword puzzle, you're physically putting a jigsaw puzzle together, you're reading a book, you're taking on a new hobby, or you're praying, or you're meditating, or you're working on your the spiritual exercise, the emotional exercise. Do one thing every day to improve your health and fitness and wellness physically, mentally, or emotionally. Number two, the hardest one to do, don't be a shitty person, be a kind person. Get yourself out of the negativity. I can almost unequivocally say, this is anecdotal, but all the people in my life that are dealing with depression, anxiety, stress, hardships, and like emotional, mental hardships right now, I could say 99.9% of those people are living in the negative. Now, I know correlation does not always mean causation. Got it. But these people who are depressed, have anxiety, stress, are also all living in the negative. They're posting negative posts. They're responding negatively to people on the internet and being negative on the internet to people, and they're only taking in other negative stuff. They're only looking at negative news things. They're only talking about negative topics to people. They're living in the negative and living in the shit. And I firmly believe that contributes to people's mindsets, their mental, emotional states of being, and I think it creates that drastic spiral into depression, anxiety, stress, mental, emotional hardships. And that's why it's part of the big three, to take yourself out of those situations. When those opportunities arise to be negative and shitty to people, even if you think they deserve it, take that step back. As hard as that is to do, and I know I fight that every day, you want to take those jabs at people, especially if they're being dickheads to you, whether it's in person or online. The first thing I want to do is respond with a good jab and dig to shut them up and be like, gotcha. But no good comes from that. If you feel good doing that, you probably need some help. And if you don't feel good doing that, you need to get out of that. That's the point. You shouldn't feel good doing that. If you do, you're in way too deep, and you need to get out of there. And just in regular life, you need to find a way out of those negative situations. So take the LPDS step back, omit yourself from those situations, and you're going to be not only minimizing the negativity and the shit going on in the world around you in your environment, you're opening yourself up. You're giving yourself the time and the space and the availability to go focus on more positive, productive things. Just imagine if you took an audit of your day and you just logged all the negative things that happened throughout your day, whether you read a post that was shit talking something, or something that made you angry and you responded to that, or you were just trolling somebody on the internet in the comments section, just leaving hate, or you were responding negatively to someone who's being an asshole to you. If you just took an audit of that and you just simply every day replace one of those negative instances with either nothing or a positive thing instead, I don't know why YouTube just did fireworks on my screen. I don't know what did I do to create fireworks with my hands. I don't know. Anyway, if you just started taking each of those instances and replacing them instead of responding back to someone who's being an asshole to you, you go and you go for a walk. Now that's a positive thing that you did. You're getting exercise, you're cooling off, there's less negativity in your day right then and there. And you're making yourself healthier physically, mentally, emotionally. So if you think cut it down into pieces. And you'll see, we'll talk about that in a second. You'll see the benefits of doing that. Number 3, real quick, the most important one, be genuinely thankful and grateful for all the good you have in your lives. If you're actively spending time thinking about the good things in your life and what your life would be like without those good things, you're going to be putting yourself in a state of gratitude and realizing how good you have it as opposed to taking that stuff for granted. Now, back to taking, small baby steps to doing this. If you break things down like this, in the grand scheme of things, it seems like the big 3 is a daunting task. I can't just wake up tomorrow and exercise every day and not be shitty and be grateful all the time. And I'm not asking you to do that. That is setting yourself up for failure because you're gonna do it a couple days. You're gonna feel motivated to become a better person, and then after that motivation is gone, you didn't build the discipline to do it. It's going to seem overwhelming. You're not going to do it again. You're going to fall. You're going to backslide back into your old habits. So cut it down into small, digestible pieces. Instead of saying, I'm going to do a full 2-hour workout today and do squats and deadlifts and run a mile and this and that, find out where you're at. What your physical fitness or any fitness level. Find out where you're at. I haven't read a book in a year. Okay, instead of saying I'm going to read a book this week, be like, I'm going to read 5 pages today. Okay? If you haven't worked out in a year, instead of saying I'm going to do a 2-hour workout, I'm going to go for a walk today. Half a mile. Just something. Quarter of a mile. I'm going to do something physical today because I'm starting from 0. Or I work out an hour a day and I'm not getting anywhere. Then you add, I'm going to add another 20 minutes or I'm going to do Stairmaster after my workout. Like you just add one thing every day. Do one thing every day. Take that audit of all the times you felt negative feelings in your day and the cause of those negative feelings. And then replace one of those. Oh, somebody posted this and I hated that, so I responded to that, and then it made me angry because now I had a fake argument with that person in my head for the next hour. Okay, for that one instance, and you see something negative that happened, like we're going to see negative shit in our lives. It's going to happen passively. When that happens, instead of responding to that one instance, just don't. That's it. It's simple as that. Just the one instance. Just try for one time a day to start out. And then think about one good thing in your life. It could be anything. I have electricity. Think about my life without electricity, what I would have to do. It would be dark. I need candles. I need to get either candles or gas to light lanterns or use the sun and this and that. And that's a painstaking thing to think about. So I am grateful as shit right now, actively. I'm doing it right now live. I am grateful as shit that I have electricity because not only do I have the ability to record this show, I have the lights, I got my phone camera on me, I have the ability to power my house, to put air conditioning or heat, to get hot water, to cook my dinners, to watch TV, to hit the sticks with the pals, to watch the Hallmark Christmas movies. All of that good stuff that I do every day, and it's almost like it's part of my routine, all that stuff I just said, I can't do that without electricity. That's just one thing I mentioned. So break it down. And I know I extended the big three out a little bit more than we usually do, but this is important, and I want people to be able to understand the how possible it is to do this stuff and how it's okay. No one expects you to wake up the next morning and just be better at anything or have it all figured out in one day just because you said you want to get it figured out. It's the same with business stuff and goals you want to set for yourself. You can't just set a ridiculous goal and expect to get it by tomorrow just because you said it the day before. And if you don't get it tomorrow, you're a failure. Break it down into digestible, plausible, tangible actions that you can take to get better. And you just do those things a little bit each and every day. And I know during the process, you're not going to feel like you're making progress because you're still going to find negativity in your life and get angry about it. You're still going to have those negative feelings. You're still going to feel like you're not making any progress in your fitness journeys because you see yourself in the mirror every day, so you're not going to think you're losing weight or getting bigger muscles. But I promise you, if you do this stuff a little bit every day, in attainable amounts every day, so that you can actually say, I accomplished this every day, and I work towards it every day, I promise you, you will eventually see the progress. Take a picture of yourself before your fitness journey. Take a second to journal how you're feeling currently in the beginning of your big three journey. And just write down what you're feeling. I'm negative about this. I hate this. This angers me. This guy sucks. I hate this person. Or I like this and that. And then write down all the stuff that you wish you had in life. I wish I had a bigger house, a better car. I wish I was rich. I wish I didn't have any debt. I wish I had a better job. I wish I didn't have to work. I wish I could go on vacation all the time. Right? Put that stuff down and then look at it months down the road after following the big three a little bit each and every day. And then 6 months to a year down the road, go back and look at that picture of you that you took in the beginning of your fitness journey compared to where you're at now and how you're feeling now. Journal that in the beginning, how you physically feel. I'm lethargic. I'm tired. I'm out of shape. I'm this and that. And compare. That's when you'll see the difference. In the day-to-day, it's going to be frustrating because you're not going to see the progress in your lives. And I get that. That's why most people quit. But set yourself up in the beginning by writing that stuff down, locking that stuff down initially, and then baby stepping it out. One little bit each and every day of the big three. A little bit every day. And all you keep thinking about is, I just got to get it done tomorrow. Okay, today's here. I got it done. I just got to get it done tomorrow. One more day, I got to do it. And then one more day, I got to do it. And one more day, I got to do it. Before you know it, you're going to look back on the year. And you're going to be like, holy shit. I went to the gym 175 times this year. And last year, I went to the gym 12 times. And I don't have to take depression medication nearly as much anymore. My dosage went down considerably. Or I don't even think, like, I'm not even mad that I drive this Toyota Corolla. I love it. Like, you're going to see your life change. You're going to look back and realize how much better things have gotten for you. And that's a promise. And if you don't believe me, DM me, email me, call me. We do this with our Spearhead leadership clients on the leadership side. And a lot of the leadership stuff is the same thing, the same process. The results are there. There's scientific studies to prove these methods work. Okay? I'm not just making this shit up. I wish I was, because then I'd be a genius. But this is all based in practice. Excuse me. This is all based in practice. So we could talk further about it. You could be a client if you want, and I'll get you there. And that's a guarantee. But I promise you, if you do all this stuff, you'll be a better, happier, kinder, healthier, less stressed, more genuine human being. You'll be able to spread that positivity and goodness to all those around you throughout the land. I went on an awful long time about that stuff. And I apologize if you didn't want to hear it. I'm not that sorry because it's important to me. And I believe it should be important to others as well. I'm not going to obviously force it on you, but it's just very important to me to try to be better in all aspects of life. And I don't expect people to just become the best overnight. But if we can strive to be better, a little bit better than our previous day's self each and every day, it's going to be good for everybody. It only benefits. It only benefits. Because even if you fail one day, you'll learn that lesson. What did I do today that didn't work out that I don't want to do tomorrow? Okay, got it. Now I learned. So you're still learning, growing, and improving. And it's for the better, for yourself and all those around you. It's so important to me. And I don't regret going off on this every time. So that's all I got about that. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe and tell your friends and enemies. Pass the hotline number around, folks. If you go on a bad date or you're talking to a gal or a guy online and he's asking for your number, but you're just not that interested, give him the hotline number, 202-670-1114, and tell them to leave a voicemail because you don't always check your phone. And they can text too. I get texts on the hotline too. Tell them to send a text, and I'll respond. And I'll actually reach out to you directly. If someone texts me, I'll be like, "Hey, this person texted me and said they got this number from you. Let's craft up a good conversation. Let's have fun with this, and then we'll talk about it on an episode. We'll leave names out, of course, but let's have some fun with the hotline. 202-670-1114. Thank you guys again. I love you all. Stay strong.